When I read Lyle and Eric Menendez's chart, there was a few things that really stuck out to me. First of all, I found out that these two brothers were a Capricorn and a Sagittarius. A Capricorn and a Sagittarius are very dynamic for two reasons. Their relationships are almost like polar opposites, where there is a strong, intense area of similarities. The Capricorn is known for having that energy that is ruled by Saturn, which is about restriction, constricting, and also taking away, where the Sagittarius is more known for that energy of Jupiter, where it's all about being explosive, almost being a little bit volatile, and also being very outward focused. Two opposite, but also two big energies. And also what's interesting is when you get into the space of Greek mythology, of Saturn was the father of Jupiter. Saturn, or also known as Kronos, was taken down by the sun, but it came with a little bit of a plan. And basically what happened with this story is Saturn devoured his children. He ate them because he thought the children were going to take him down and wipe him out. When the mother had Jupiter, she hid the baby, she hid him. He grew up, became bigger and badder than his dad. And Jupiter then took down Saturn by basically taking him out. So it's a very interesting story that these two are both aligned with Saturn and Jupiter. And we have a Capricorn and a Sagittarius. Another thing that really stood out to me about Lyle Menendez's birth chart was that he was a life path of 8. So not only is he a Capricorn sun, but he's also a life path of 8. 8 sometimes shows the energy of money, wealth, and an infinitive process, an infinity type structure of movement of energy. We are in the year of 8, which is considered a Saturn year. But let's continue. When I started to dive deeper into his chart, he is a sun in Capricorn. His sun is in the 9th house, which traditionally is known to be ruled by the area of the Sagittarius. So that area is very dominant. However, it is in Capricorn. It is all about making things bigger, which that sun energy, that ego, that idealistic nature made everything very huge. Another thing that really stood out was the moon in Taurus. The moon in Taurus at 23 degrees in the first house is that energy of self. Also, the first house is that energy of identity. And also it is seen as almost the soul energy of emotions when we look at the first house. There's a lot about the first house, right? But one of the things that really stood out about this energy of the moon being aligned with Taurus is also it was in 23 degrees. And 23 degrees is a very controversial degree. 23 degrees is seen as a fixed degree. It's also seen as the energy that would be very dominant. And it also resembles pathways of the 7 star sisters who were basically thrown up to the heavens because people were attempting to, let's just say, put lots of harm onto them. Some people also see this energy as being very centered around possibly something very spontaneous and also energetic that could take out any individual. Some see it as an energy of crisis and ending, and for it to be tied into the energy of the mother is kind of creepy and eerie. Another thing that stood out to me about his chart was he had his ascendant in Taurus as well. And it is kind of uncommon to have your ascendant and your moon sign two of the big threes, 2/3 of your big three all aligned together. It's a very dominant structure, and it also speaks a lot of volume in who you are in the energy alignment. Another thing that I want to point out is not just that, but it was in the degree of 7. And 7 is known as an energy where some people would say lucky, but some people would also say it is a wisdom degree. It's a degree where it's meant to teach other individuals. In the energy of 7, 7 is seen as that energy of teaching. So maybe he was here to teach maybe his brother, maybe us, maybe the collective. He was here to teach. His area of lessons came with a lot of possibilities where people may have learned from his misfortunes. But another thing that really stood out to me when reading his chart was where his Pluto was at. His Pluto was in Virgo, and it was in the 6th house, and it was in 22 degrees. The Pluto in Virgo stands out in the energy of movement and also endings. It also stands out in the energy of like a rebirth, but is also seen as the belly of the beast. It could be a very challenging time when Pluto is transitioning over certain houses, and sometimes seen as something that isn't necessarily the most easy. But when we look at it in the energy of Virgo, Virgo usually has a big significance of the everyday life and also the energy of rituals. Virgo is also known as the energy of domestication, health, and wellness. So it seems interesting that this energy was all speaking towards him around the 6th house. And traditionally, Virgo is aligned with the 6th house. So it kind of was like a airy, kooky, and everyday sense that this impulsive and dark, devious energy was aligned in something that was occurring every day. But the kicker is that the Pluto was in 22 degrees. 22 degrees, many see it as the you're out of here degree, or you got to take somebody else out. If you want to find out more about Lyle and Eric's birth chart, I highly recommend checking out my podcast, The Birth Charts of the Menendez brothers. I always sometimes have a hard time saying their name. Menendez brothers, on Chakras and Cuss Words podcast.